Hi everyone, I'm coming on live in my group Intuitive Angel Messages and I'm super excited. I am doing something a little bit different. I thought that I would lead into this live, and I want to bring to the forefront something that my angel loves to tell me once in a while. She loves to give me this guidance in regards to overthinking and overanalyzing. Oh, don't we just love to do that as a whole, as in humanity? It's like, well, who does it? Are you a human being? Yes. Okay, well, I think we just covered that marker. So I've written down some notes as to what I want to talk about. And this is going to lead into the live that I'm going to do on Sunday, which is religion versus spirituality, which I'm really excited to chat about. And I know a lot of you guys are excited to have me step forward and talk about that too. And of course, all of this is going to be coming through my perspective, my filter to a degree, just like each of us observes our reality, our experience through our filter, right? So this is going to be my experience through my filter and my observation. So some of it may resonate with you and some of it might not. Either way, take pieces of it that do resonate with you and make what you will of it. So some of the things that I'll hear my guardian angel say to me once in a while when I have my mind spinning or I'm repeatedly thinking about something that is lowering my vibrational frequency. It might be a worrisome thought, a fearful thought. She'll just step right into my mind and say, you're overthinking it. You're overthinking it, Kristen. So she'll put things into perspective right in the moment when I'm going down a path. I call it going off the deep end. Also, I call it, here I go, I'm going in the trenches. And so when I head down those paths, it's nice to know that my team has my back to let me know when I'm overthinking it. The other thing she'll do is if I'm taking on too much and I'm too busy and I'm going in life, she'll throw a whole bunch of balls up in the air, which means I've got too much going on and I'm taking on too much in my life. It's too much for me. It's too stressful. So how does that lead into an overactive, a mind that spirals, where you're overthinking and overanalyzing things? If you are extremely busy all the time, you can chalk up probably ungrounded a lot of the time. That leads into that vibrational frequency, that energy, which typically tips you over the scale into the region of overthinking, overanalyzing, not much quiet time going on in the mind. And a lot of people say to me, I can't hear my spirit guides. I can't hear my angels. Well, how quiet is your mind? How much stillness, how much internal peace do you have going on within you on a day-to-day basis? And then the second thing I would ask is, how high vibrational is your frequency? Or are you finding that you're spiraling a lot with the overthinking and overanalyzing and the worrying and the self-doubt, and you go down this path where that becomes more of your dominant frequency, your dominant energy, and we're to connect with high vibrational beings of light and love that are very high vibrational. So if I don't have much stillness going on inside my mind and my own energy, my own frequency is down here in the trenches, I call it, how am I to connect with high vibrational beings? So my frequency being a little bit higher means that I'm vibrationally and energetically closer to where their frequency is, their energy. Therefore, it makes it a bit easier for me to then connect in with them. Two things: your frequency and what is going on in your mind will always be the indicator as to how grounded you are and how much you really can connect with spirit. We can all connect with spirit all the time, by the way. It's just picking up on the cues as to how they're communicating with us. And although you may not really get the clairvoyance or the clairaudience right out the gate, you most certainly are always picking up on the clairsentience and the claircognizance, the clear feeling and the clear knowing. So ideas and information, insights that enter your mind, and feeling in your body when the energy shifts in the room, when you ask them a question and you get a yes or no response in the body, when you're going about your day-to-day basis and you get a tight pullback and tightness in your stomach and your chest. None of us really ask, who's doing that and why is this happening? We just know it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel good. My gut instinct tells me, don't go down this path. Who do you think is giving you that message? So you're always communicating with them. They might, your higher self or your angels or your spirit guides might let you know who's calling on the phone, and you pick up on that right away, and you know who's calling before they call. So many of us do this all the time. You know the right thing to say to your friend at the right time. So we're always channeling. It's just a matter of unconsciously channeling versus consciously channeling. And here we have spiraling in the mind, overthinking, overanalyzing, and where does that take us? Is this important for me to be focusing on this information at this time? Is this important for me to be focusing on these thoughts at this time? Is this going to be serving me? Is this going to be serving my highest and best good at this time? Does this add to my inner peace and my happiness in life, or does it detract from it and take away from it? That is the question you will ask in every given moment. And the way about doing it is when we are observing something that we're focusing on or thinking about on a repeated basis, and we feel our energy sinking in our bodies, that's the cue, that's the sign right there for you to pick up on. And in that moment, you get to decide what you get to do with it. So instead of, oh, woe is me, life is happening to me, and reacting to what is happening in your life. Some of us do the victim mentality, the woe is me. I was so good at that, so good at that. I was like a pro, such a pro. The other thing that I used to do is always worrying about money. Was I going to have enough? To the point where I would stockpile stuff, just to make sure I had enough in the future. And that chronic worry and chronic way of being in life led me down a path of what? More worrying, more overanalyzing, more overthinking, more fear. So where you place your attention, energy flows. Where you place your attention, where you place your thoughts, you're going to then create more of the same. So in the moment, you get to decide, do I want to be the conscious observer and consciously manifesting in my reality, or do I want to just be reacting to what is in my life here and there, being more unconscious and still manifesting in my life, by the way? Now, low vibrational thoughts, low vibrational emotions, they're going to manifest at a slower rate. They're not going to have as much punch to them. That's the good news. But irregardless of you reacting to what is and being more unconscious and being reactive to what's happening in your life, you're still creating. You are still manifesting. So you get to decide, do I consciously become more conscious of what is transpiring within my mind, within my vibrational frequency, and decide what I want to create in my reality? Or do I keep on going on the same way, unconsciously creating anyways and creating more of what I don't want? We get to decide that each and every single day, in every single moment. And if you guys think I'm on it all the time, P.S., I'm not. However, if something is really what I call dogging me, like it's constantly on my mind, or there's people in my life that is a consistent feedback of low frequency, maybe what they're saying to me and it's not resonating with me, then in that moment I become the still observer and I get to decide what I want to do with that. Am I going to listen to this person's opinion of me? Or am I going to say your opinion of me is none of my business? Because my frequency is centered here and I am in control of my frequency and I get to decide where I place my attention and my focus, therefore creating more of what I choose to create more of in my reality. Right? The beautiful thing about the blossoming of awakening and then ascension on the planet at this time is that we are shifting in our vibrational frequency, and what percentage of the planet is actually awakening at this time? Does anybody have a guesstimate? What percentage out of 100% do you think is awakening on the planet at this time? And then that percentage sending out a different frequency with different thoughts, different ways of doing things, becoming more of the still observer and the manifester of their reality. Nothing more the angels love than to see a person write down their question or write down what they want to create in their reality on a piece of paper. And then the angels are given the consent at that time with your free will consent to help you manifest that into your reality. So the beauty of it is you get to create what you want in your experience along with your team. So connect in, write down on a list of paper what you want to create more of and get real direct with them as to what you want. And if you don't want to write it down on a piece of paper, then you're going to be talking with them about what you want in every given moment. Okay? 20%, 40%, 55%. I'll ask my guardian angel. Last I checked, it was a certain percentage, but it's always going to be changing as things are changing on the planet rapidly. What percentage on the planet is awakening at this time, at this moment? She says it's in between 30 to 40%. She's like, we'll put it right at around 35%, always in flux. It's in transition. Because although some people may be experiencing ascension symptoms, they don't know what they are. And they don't know what's happening. They don't understand because they aren't awakening yet to find out. What makes a person realize, hey, I'm awakening? Holy cow. Something's different here. Does anybody have the answer to that? When you have that recognition, that realization, oh my God, I'm awakening. Oh, what a surprise that is. And there are many catalysts to awakening, such as suffering, health issues, mental issues, people passing away in our lives that we've lost. It's that contrast that kicks off a shift and change within us and does help to become the catalyst in our awakening. It can. So that's right. That's right, Christina. Like you'll notice that colors or light becomes a bit brighter. Sound might get a little bit too loud for you. You might become just a bit too sensitive, like your sensory senses are overloaded at times. I've had some people, they have energy coming around them and it makes them very lightheaded and dizzy. Sometimes, you know, there's times where spirits come around me. Now, why would we have our sensories opened and even more open and be more sensitive? Could it possibly be our chakra centers are opening and expanding even further? Therefore, we are picking up on the energy around us. Awakening is a part of that, and incoming high vibrational frequency, shifting our vibrational frequency. And where does this high vibrational frequency come from? Everywhere. And where does it come into us? Through our chakra centers. And as our chakra centers open and expand even more, then it's just waves of it, and it just is coming in through the body in every capacity. Yeah, I'm always turning the lights down too. I'll have candles burning, but I don't have too much bright light. Yeah. So one knows that they are on the path of awakening when they're curious and asking questions. And they're doing research, like reading spiritual material, maybe material on healing, watching YouTube videos, movies, TV shows. That's when you know, oh, okay, I'm starting to awaken. Because before then, you were okay with the way things were. You weren't asking questions, and you had more of a three-dimensional reality going on, and you weren't interested in any of this. So we get two choices moving forward. We can move down the path where overthinking and overanalyzing becomes our norm, which it has. It's called an old tape pattern. It's just the brain, it gets locked into a way of being. And so the only way out is to be the observer of the thoughts rotating in your mind, rather than being your thoughts. Become the stillness and observe your thought. And then you can hand that thought off to your angels on a repeated basis. In the beginning, I really recommend like 25 times a day to make a huge shift, and do that for 2 weeks. And then you can ease back to 10 times a day for the week after that, 5 times a day for the week after that, and then just here and there when you see it come in. But as you do that, your thoughts shift and change. You have more high vibrational thoughts. You start to notice, holy cow, I feel better. I feel like there's a way out of this. And the thoughts that you did have, the emotions and the triggers that you once had, they just don't crop up or pop up in your mind or in your reality. People shift and change, and they move out of your life. And more high vibrational people move into your life. More high vibrational experiences, more high vibrational work environments. Everything shifts and changes. You move mountains by way of what transpires within these 2 years, right here. If you want things to change out here, we redirect our attention and focus here, right here. All right, let's see if I've missed anything that I want to bring up. So have you guys noticed that when you get going on the path of overthinking and overanalyzing, it starts to ramp up, and then it starts to take off like a jet plane. Next thing you know, you trigger more frequently, you're overanalyzing, overthinking things, and then you spiral to the point where you go down on tangents where things are worried about that don't even need to be worried about. And you focus on things repeatedly, and then you make something out of nothing. So catch that, okay? Or your guardian angel will catch it for you and tell you in your mind, hey, you're overthinking it, as I have had many times. If you're very active and very busy all the time, and you don't take time to slow down and create that stillness within, you are going to have a perpetual cycle of this frequency in your reality, and then it's going to be more of the same. So if you want to do more of the same, just keep doing more of what you're doing. If you want things to be different and you want different things to unfold in your reality, you've got to make different changes, different decisions, different choices in the moment. Okay. And so the beautiful thing is that so many of us, we get worked up on certain things such as religion versus spirituality. I've had a lot of individuals come to me recently for readings in regard to this, and I'm really looking forward to channeling my guardian angel this Sunday in regards to this topic in my group Intuitive Angel Messages, because I think it's really important. And when I was talking with her about it the other day, she said, and I felt it, but she said it. She said what I was feeling, which is, it's not even about religion and spirituality. And that's the interesting thing about it. So I'm going to be bringing more of that to the forefront. We can say this, that, we can blame things on people. We can blame things on these people that did this hundreds of years ago. We can, be the perpetual chronic victim or victimizer. We can play those roles or not. You get to decide in every given moment where you place your attention and your focus and your awareness. Are you wanting to hand off your energy and your power all the time? And to be that chronic victim? I personally don't. All right. Does anybody have any questions? And I will channel the guidance for your question in regards to this topic. Yeah. Yeah, here's what D is saying. Learning things aren't as they seem. Questioning the norm. Okay. And I suppose it's moving out of more of a sheeple mentality into an individualized mindset. Going within, following your higher self, your soul, and picking up on what feels good, feels right, and what does not. So if you get migraines on a regular basis, that could be energy that's attempting communication with you. If you get a lot of energy around your head and it might feel like pressure, you might find your chakra centers opening and expanding. And you might feel a little lightheaded. That can create headaches or migraines. So in those moments, you may want to say, please step back. You're creating a headache or a migraine here. I need you to step back. And then what will happen is the energy will step back away from you. And then your mind will become much more clear. You won't be as lightheaded. And you should notice the head pressure dissipating. Good. Very good, Christina. All right. Yes, I started to get a lot of knowing about stuff I questioned for years and was in such resistance because I didn't understand it. Yeah, and that's just really what it is, isn't it? It's being open and pliable in the way of deciding that you may not entirely understand all of it, but we piecemeal it. It's really one foot in front of the other. One foot in front of the other. Some people's awakenings happen really fast. Others, it has to be a slower transition. It's just energetically what each is ready for. That's wonderful. Yeah. That's how I've been feeling as well. It doesn't feel good to listen to really harsh or intense music or watching really intense or low vibrational type of TV programs or movies. And I've been informed several times it's really important as to where we place our attention and our focus when we are awakening and opening and expanding and becoming more sensitive, because it's called the law of attraction. So if you place your attention and focus on, say, paranormal programs, for example, or, you know, heavy-duty alien, ET, UFO type programs, if you are really open and sensitive and you're focusing on that, and you're focusing on those ETs, what happens? That ET energy then notices you. And you start to draw in more of that energy, because what you place your attention now on, you create more of, right? So it's important to not turn a blind eye to everything, but just observe, okay, this is syncing my frequency, and maybe it's best that I don't place my attention and focus here for a reason. Somebody's giving me a warning. My team is warning me. So I ought to pay attention and listen and place my attention elsewhere. Yeah, that's called going down a rabbit hole, Christina. You know, this next Mediumship for Beginners course coming up in the fall, I'm completely revamping it. And we have new medium teachers as well. And one of the things that I am talking about is rabbit holes. Going off the deep end, down rabbit holes where it's insatiable and you just can't get enough, and you can't get the answers that satiate your appetite, and breaking that down and having a different perspective of it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's just it. When you become more open and your chakras are opening up, and you start to sense other people's frequency more, and you start to sense spirit's energy around you more, and you start to sense the energies around you, right? Where you place your attention is where more of that, it's the law of attraction. That's what it is. If somebody's having a really hard time in a certain area in their life, including myself, the first thing I'm saying is, what is it in me that is a vibrational match for this experience? That, or this experience, or this individual, or this circumstance is teaching me something. What is it teaching me? And how am I going to shift my frequency and my attention, my thoughts, to move in a different direction because I'm not comfortable here? That's the first thing. I don't blame someone else. I don't point the finger. I actually go right here. That's where I go, right here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Would you like to relay any messages in regards to this topic? She says, I'm handling it good. My guardian angel. Yes, your vision will change with it. It's an ascension symptom. You'll notice like a film will go over your eyeball, or a haziness, and it will go for a few days in the beginning. And then as years go by, this haziness and this change of vision will last for about 5 to 7 days. That's where about I am. But in the beginning, it was only for like 1 or 2 days. And I thought, that's weird. Why is my eyeball feeling like this? You know, like sometimes it felt like saran wrap over my eyes. Other times it felt very dried out. And then it would be right back to normal again. And I was fine. And it's still happening. It's just coming for longer periods, because as you anchor more light within your vessel, the ascension symptoms, some of them I've adjusted to them, and others are like, okay, well, I can take in more light. Therefore, the ascension symptoms seems to last a bit longer, like my vision shifting and changing for longer periods, because I can take in more. So I just have more light frequency. I call it an ascension wave. You can call it a light code. You can call it a solar flare. Whatever, the Schumann resonance is showing this happening around the planet. There are even, scientists are noticing there's energy shifts that are taking place from within the planet herself, and they don't have any answers to it. Everything is shifting right now And it's amazing when I look back like 15 years ago, what was happening in the spiritual community, what was happening within me. And now I'm like, God, that seems like lifetimes ago. And it was only 15 years ago if we looked at linear time. And then I say to myself, my God, you know, like what is going to transpire over the next 15 years at such a rapid pace of energy shifting on the planet right now? It's going to be moving mountains. That's what this energy is here to do. It's here to move mountains within us, within the planet. And then as we shift and change, we emit a different frequency affecting the collective consciousness. It's wonderful. Okay. Henson's asking, does higher vibration mean cutting off different types of food? It can, yes, it can. And you'll notice your appetite will change for different foods as well as you ascend, because you cannot eat the same lower vibrational or foods that have no nutrition or foods that sink your frequency. You'll even find it might be harder for you to digest certain foods. So that will definitely change. Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. And it's a transition between two things. Energetically, what's shifting and changing within you, and then you physically. And physically, you know, that's a whole different story. Some people have digestive issues. Some people have had surgeries. I'm talking about myself here. Some people are a certain blood type. That's me again. That has been around for thousands upon thousands of years. I have the oldest blood type on the planet. So what did we eat back then? Meat. So energetically, my energy would like me to not eat meat. But physically, I feel like my body still needs to eat meat. Physically, I've had surgeries, so I don't have my large intestine. So I've gone where I haven't eaten meat for 1.5 years, and I found it very difficult because I was processing things too fast. And so it was very hard on my body. So now I've shifted back to only specific kinds of meat, and it's only local organic raised. It's the most, I'll spend whatever amount of money on the most best quality meat I can possibly get my hands on. Do I want to eat meat? No, not entirely. But physically, I'm still where I'm at. Energetically, my energy would like me to go on past meat, but I can't. So I'm giving you that as an example. So what are you going to do at the end of the day, just before you go to bed, and you know all these low vibrational thoughts are just rotating in your mind? Because I guarantee you right now, your guardian angels, your spirit guides, the ascended masters, the archangels, none of them think like that. And that's what I realized when I first started channeling. Oh my God, I'm the only one that has chronic low vibrational thoughts. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm getting so done with this. Like, this is not enjoyable anymore. It's not fun for me to have chronic low vibrational thoughts all the time. It sucks, doesn't it? So throughout the day, you're going to catch those thoughts and you're going to give them to your angels. Or you can picture a gold box and you can put them in the gold box, and the angels will know what you're doing and they'll collect them and transmute them into the light. At the end of the day, if you didn't get to 25 times, you're going to think, okay, I think I missed about 15 times. So at the end of the day, you're going to hand off things that are bothering you, low vibrational thoughts, people that are pissing you off, problems in your life, problems at work, just any stressors, and you're going to give them to your angels or put it in the gold box. And you're going to do that for 2 weeks. At the end of 2 weeks, the following week, the third week, you're going to do it 10 times. And on the fourth week, you're going to do it 5 times a day. And depending on how much chronic low vibrational thinking you have, worries, fears, doubts, and the like, if you still have a lot, it means you still have to do more work and hand it off to your team. But I guarantee you at the end of the 2 weeks of doing that 25 times a day, your everything is going to shift and change significantly. You'll be more at peace. You're going to have more stillness. I remember that time I was like, my God, I have way more quiet time happening in my mind. Like I wasn't used to that kind of quiet and inner peace. Because when this becomes more peaceful, everything in my life must shift to be a vibrational match to that, right? It has to. So everything that is transpiring in you is a vibrational match and reflection, or you could say a mirror to everything else that is taking place outside of you. Does that help you? Hey, hey, Rachel. Okay. Wanda, where do you feel drawn? Do you feel drawn to taking courses? Do you feel drawn to hermiting? The hermit stage through spiritual awakening. That's also a stage, by the way. So, Shanice, I just told you how to get out of it. You can watch this all back again and make notes. That's another thing. As you open and you're sensing more energy, being around large crowds of people becomes uncomfortable. So you'll often see me with a baseball cap on or my hoodie up because it acts as a mild shield to others' frequency. And I'm also calling in backup if I need it. Ooh, Nina, what is your advice for situations where you're surrounded by spiritually closed off, asleep people who are low vibrational? Ooh, don't even get me started. You have to understand, like, before I started giving readings, I was the quintessential indigo. I was always trying to fix people, change people. I would see the answer, they wouldn't see it, and I would always try to help them see it. But what I've learned from the angels over the years, and I'm over 2,000 readings under my belt now, is to allow others to be as they choose. When they're ready to awaken, when they want to change, they'll start asking questions, and then you'll be there to answer. But I don't want to stuff things down people's throats or make them change like I used to, because that's not my responsibility, and that's not my role, my purpose. But I can talk about things. I can shift my own frequency. I can change my own thought patterns. And, you know, many times when people take my mediumship courses, they often say to me, their friends and family members are like, what's up with you? Like, you've totally changed. And they tell them, well, I've taken a course. And that makes my day, that their friends and family members are noticing that they've really shifted and changed and they've moved mountains energetically within themselves. I just absolutely love hearing that. Absolutely love it. So what do we do with people that are not ready to awaken, who are low vibrational? If they're impacting and affecting you in a low vibrational way, you have the free will and now the insight to make the request, to ask your spiritual team to vacuum them, cut cords or ties to them, and or also remove them from your life. That might come down to that. Because as you shift and move in vibrational frequency into higher vibrational, she's talking about higher vibrational frequencies, but also higher vibrational planes of existence, because you're going to exist in a higher vibrational frequency, therefore in a higher vibrational plane of existence, these people, they will either come along with you slowly. She's showing like a turtle. Or they will have to move in a different direction towards other people that are a vibrational match for their frequency. So she says, so you see, you don't need to take anything personal, and they don't need to take anything personal. It's really just a vibrational frequency emitted from each of you. And it is the vibrational frequency that will determine whether they stick around or stay in your life or not. Allow them to be as they choose, dear ones. Allow them to be as they choose. Thank you, dear ones. So some will, some won't. So what? That's my motto. Some are going to be ready, some won't. And you have to be okay with both sides of it. And I'll tell you, in the beginning of giving readings, I used to like to give my opinion a lot more during my readings, my sessions. And the angels would put me in my place a little bit. They'd say, Kristen, you know, this is an angel reading, not a Kristen reading. Because I still had that, I want to give my opinion and help. And so I had to simmer that down and come and see over time that it's too exhausting to try and change everyone. It's too tiring. And in the end, do they even get it? Do they want to get it? Are they ready to even change or shift or move in a different direction anyways? A lot of them may not be, or they might move a little bit. But if we think that we can change other people, indirectly, yes, by me shifting and changing my own frequency, sure, if they want to change. But otherwise, I'm going to go with no. Yay, Jim! Yay! Yep. So people with ADHD, what would you like to give guidance in regards to people with ADHD that have a hard time focusing and may go down a lot of rabbit holes? Ground yourself often. Go outdoors. Be in nature. She's talking about Epsom salt baths. Or if you're having a shower, salt rubs. Or she's talking about if you're sitting in front of the TV, you can get a basin of nice hot water and put salt in it and put your feet in it. She's also showing a rough cut palm-sized rose quartz, and you put that down on your lap near your pubic bone where your root chakra is. That will also help to ground your energy. She's showing me someone with ADHD in their mind. And it's like it never turns off. It's always focusing on, it has to focus on something. She says that with that being said, with it having to focus on something, place it on content, books, people, whatever you're placing it on. It's up to you as to it being high vibrational or low vibrational, and you'll know, because if it's low vibrational, it'll sink your frequency. You feel, or you'll feel drained of your energy. So you'll know, okay, well then I'm not going to place my attention here. So if you are gonna, if you have moments, if you have spurts or moments where you have, like your mind is going, it's at least your responsibility as to what you place your attention upon, whether it is low vibrational or high vibrational. So that's your responsibility. She says we don't try to control or contain someone with ADHD or any other intensive thinking going on within minds. We simply redirect. Sense and feel, become the still observer, redirect. Hand it off to us to transmute into the light. She's saying our thoughts and our emotions are like a frequency that we're sending off all the time, like a beacon, and that energy is always sent out. So we can continuously send it out, getting more of the same, or we can transmute it with them, therefore shifting and changing that repetitive pattern. You know, everybody is an empath, but those who are very empathic, and there are people that are far more empathic than me, they're just going to sense and be more observant, I would imagine, than somebody that is not as empathic, right? Being an empath, being very empathic, what that tells me is that you need to manage your energy even more so, and ground your energy even more than the average person. You need to ground outdoors. Lean your back on a tree, lay down on the earth, Epsom salt baths, rose quartz. Create still moments throughout the day in your mind. This what I'm talking about today is even more important for an empath than anyone else, in my opinion. She says, sure. Okay, so I'm going to answer a couple more questions. Caffeine and sugar. What do caffeine and sugar do to the mind? Anybody want to answer that? When you're drinking excessive caffeine and sugar, what does that do to the mind? That's true too. And if you are eating meat, it does help you feel, it will help with being more grounded. I went 1.5 years without meat. I was like, whoa, on a whole other level. It was pretty amazing actually. And then I remember, but my body, my energy was like, yes. My body was like telling me no. And there were several things that happened with my body. But again, like I've had surgeries and I've had, you know, yada yada. So, but when I started to eat the meat again, locally sourced, my body became much more grounded, which has helped me with ascension, essentially. Okay. Yeah, I agree, Nina. I agree with you. It's the difference between energetically and physically. Okay. Wow, you guys are chatting up a storm here. What happens when you eat sugar and caffeine in the mind? What happens? And this is where Paul will say here, he has been plant-based for many years. He has been completely vegan, and that can also help you feel grounded as well. So he has his perspective and I have mine, right? But again, his body is different than my body. His blood type, the way he's built, is different than my body. My body is this way, and I have had several surgeries, and to go without meat, it's difficult for me to slow down my digestive tract. It's not a good time for me. So each body is different, and then energetically is also, you know, if spirit had their way, we would all be moving away from meat. But physically, this is a whole other thing to contend with. All right. Yeah, it's hyper-stimulating. Caffeine and sugar is hyper-stimulating. Adrenal glands are pumping. Now your mind is racing even more. And now you're adding to being even more ungrounded, even more than you already were. And it can give anxiety too. And then we have these ascension waves come in, and we get heart palps, and we get overthinking, and we're laying in bed at night and we can't sleep because this energy is coming in and anchoring through our vessels, right? So our body doesn't quite know what's going on. So it kind of goes into a fight or flight mode. And then we go and we put sugar and caffeine on top of that. I don't know about you guys, but I'd be limiting the sugar and caffeine if I were you. If you can. If there was anybody that knew the most about being vegan, is Paul here in the comments. And hopefully Paul will step forward and do some videos. Oh, actually, he has done some videos. Yeah, they're on his YouTube channel. So if you guys want to go to YouTube channel Paul Milgis, I'll put the link up above and also in the description box, in the box below. But his YouTube channel, you can hear him talk about veganism. And it's a whole other bag of wax on his YouTube channel, which I highly recommend. So you guys go and check it out. Okay. D, some people eat only French fries. That doesn't mean it's healthy. I love it. Do you know I actually brought that up in a conversation with a friend of mine recently? And because I remember seeing a show where it was one of those TLC programs and people obsessed with something. And this woman was obsessed with French fries. And she had only eaten French fries for like 20 years. That's all she ever ate. And I was like, you know, technically a potato, technically a vegetable. But look at what we do, how we process these things. But she was adamantly all about her French fries. And now we're talking about hot Cheetos. Do you think there's any nutrition in that? Or do you think there's a ton of chemicals? Is it going to be high vibrational for me or low vibrational for me? But guess what? As you ascend and you anchor more light, that's all going to be taken away from you anyways, because your body literally will come to a point where it cannot process these low vibrational or non-nutritional type foods. So enjoy them while they last. Enjoy it. I can't touch sugar anymore. I can't touch alcohol. I can't touch stuff that's high chemical. Even stuff that is deep fried, or I can't touch it. I can't eat it. And let me tell you, I've tried to eat some of it and I'm like, yeah, I can't eat it. So I always backtrack. I'll backtrack and try it. And my angel's like this. Oh, yeah, God, Kristen. But more and more. So I've just come onto this new path and I've let it go. More so. I've heard of this too. People needing caffeine because it helps to keep their migraines at bay. What do you want to say about that? People with migraines, they depend on caffeine to help them. She's also talking about people use caffeine to help them with their bowel movements in the morning. Yes, they do. Try to reduce it. Do the bare minimum that's needed or required in order to help you get there, help you get what you need, whether it's, you know, no migraines or a bowel movement. That's what she's saying. Isn't that funny? Oh, God, it's so funny. Well, honestly, the only thing I've heard my angels say, fructose, like with fruit, for me in moderation, for somebody else, they can eat more of it, is good. But excessive sugar, not good. How about honey? How about stevia? She says each of our bodies is unique and different. If we find that we have more anxiety or more heart palpitations, we feel irritated, reduce the amount that you are ingesting. Okay. She's also talking about people that are more unawake. They haven't anchored as much light, and they're okay with how things are. They will continue on that path for a time until, and she's also talking about each soul is unique and different. So one soul may choose a path of awakening, and they may have a catalyst unfold in their lives that will help to trigger that awakening, and other people will go the entire duration of their lifetimes without awakening fully. They might notice ascension symptoms. They may notice a lot of things transpiring in their lives at a rapid rate that are unfolding in a low vibrational way, but they don't understand that this is manifesting that. They don't understand that their own frequency is manifesting that. Hence the chaos and the pockets of chaos taking place on the planet. It's really important that we don't continuously give our attention and focus to the pockets of chaos on the planet, because then we're adding our energy to it. It's like adding the fuel to the fire, and also then it's affecting and lowering our own vibrational frequency as well. But for those who are not ready to fully awaken, they'll be able to get away with more of a varied diet, she's saying. Okay. And that's a good point. Somebody that's more athletic and moving their body a lot more, maybe exercising a lot more, they're going to need more, maybe they're going to need some form of sugar in their protein shakes. They're probably going to eat a lot more fruit, you know, but we can get that in more healthy forms rather than, you know, buying a packet of sugar from the store and, like, you know, downing that down your throat, for example. So yeah, healthy versions. Also, if you think about it, you know, one way might be easier for your body to process and absorb versus another way, right? Yeah. So we get protein stores from other avenues other than meat. If we can't eat meat, what are some other protein avenues, Paul? What other ways of protein can one ingest other than meat? Paul, I tell you, I'll put the link below this video and also above, but he really talks about this on his YouTube channel as well. You look at the difference, like, where my body is, you know, when we grew up, nobody was vegan. I mean, where I grew up in the prairie, we ate meat. And when we saw someone was a vegetarian, we were like, what the heck? And then now fast forward to this day of age, I'd say 40% of the people I know are vegetarian or vegan, or they have some type of food, I won't say restriction, I will say choices that are different. Black beans, yeah, tofu, yeah, chickpeas. There's so many plant-based varieties that we can get our proteins in, and vegan protein shakes. Like, if you guys aren't doing protein shakes, think about it, because we really do need to get in our protein, and it's easier to digest it. So when we get an ascension wave, I barely have an appetite. I have a hard time eating heavier foods. I'm doing more soups and salads and protein shakes, and that's what ties me through those periods. Okay, here we go. Paul's saying nuts, beans, lentils, legumes, tofu, tempeh, seitan, peas, pea protein powder, protein powders in general. Yeah. Rice powder also in those protein powders. Yeah. Okay, everyone. I hope this has really helped. We really covered a variety of topics, but you've got your homework now, and you get to pick and choose where your attention goes. And remember, where your attention goes, energy flows, and you create what? More of the same. more of the same. So be the conscious observer. Be the conscious manifester of your reality. Love you guys. I'll put Paul's link in below, okay? So look for it. Bye.